Welcome to the Deep End Gaming Podcast, a podcast where we take a look at the deeper end of the board gaming hobby. Today, I am joined by my fellow hosts, Clay Ross, owner of Capstone Games, and a man so fond of removing his shirt in public that even Johnny Depp thinks it's a bit excessive. And Ryan Metzler, the former heavy game reviewer for the Dice Tower, and a man that when the Bikers Convention was in Indianapolis coinciding with Gen Con, no one thought Ryan was there to play board games. I'm Joe Wiggins, and if you care to know who I am or what I do, if you were to think of the Deep End Podcast as a rogue gallery of villains defeated on a regular basis by a grown man in a Halloween costume fueled by daddy issues and a psyche tormented by flying rats, I would be Crazy Quilt. We are a podcast about heavy games for heavy gamers and definitively answering the question, who is the greatest comic book villain of all time? Clay, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while. Who is the greatest comic book villain of all time, and how you doing?
I'm doing great, man. Jesus, I would say the Joker. I'm just gonna go old school.
The Joker, yeah,
from Batman. Yeah, he's a pretty crazy guy, man. Especially with the whole conspiracy theory behind Heath Ledger and all that. That's
okay,
crazy guy. So
all right,
that's what I'm gonna go with.
There we
go.
Not
a bad choice. It's not a bad choice. I was always a Superman guy, so I'm going to go with Mr. Mxyzptlk. I don't know if anybody knows Mr. Mxyzptlk, but he was a little impish dude from, I don't remember what dimension. It was like the 7th dimension or something like that. Great character. Always doing like puns and fun stuff like that. I really enjoyed it.
So I have like a deep love of all things Mafia. And I think one of the coolest additions to anybody that was in any comic book universe was the Kingpin. But just because he was just such a cool character that could get inserted into all these different Marvel superhero storylines, just because he was literally running all of the crime in New York City. And so I just thought that he was always had such cool storylines, such cool character development, and they really fleshed out a really cool character for him throughout the course of like how much time he actually spent on doing Marvel stuff. But I really like Kingpin. But We're going to get right into it, guys, because it's been too long since we've been able to actually do this. And so just so everyone knows, I want to kind of preface this. Our last couple episodes were kind of our warming up episodes. And so starting with this episode, we're going to kind of try some new things, do some different things, see what works, see doesn't work, see what the fans like, what they don't like. And so please give us feedback about what we're doing, the different segments we're trying out, just to let us know how you think it is and enjoy it. But we're just going to kind of get right into the podcast and just have some fun, talk about some heavy games today. Which, Ryan, man, you're going to start us off. So tell us about your super heavy game.
Super heavy. No, I changed the first game. Hopefully you saw it. So I was lucky enough to get to the table, to find a copy and get to the table of Mombasa over the last week or so. So I walked into a game store and they randomly had it sitting on the shelf. So I picked it up and grabbed it because the other game by the same designer, Great Western Trail, has been one that I enjoyed quite a bit recently. So got that to the table, and let me say that I'm impressed. Now, I don't know if these are only his only 2 titles. I haven't looked at the designer. It's Alexander Pfister, right? Yeah. So I haven't looked at his profile in BGG. I haven't done any background research. But damn, if that's the entirety or the majority of his catalog, dude, keep on putting out games. I'll buy it. I'll play it. And so for those of you that haven't played Mombasa, it's got an interesting card-driven gameplay style where you use cards to take actions, but when you're done with those cards, you place them into separate discard piles. And then you're forced to choose each round which one of these discard piles you're going to take back so that you get your cards back. And then you can broaden this out so you can be playing more cards each time. But the counter side of that is that you now have more discard piles. So you're getting either fewer cards or different cards that are sitting in discard piles for longer periods of time. You kind of mix that together with an area control / share owning, share buying, I guess, stock owning company game. And it's just very interesting at that kind of medium weight, short, I'd call it short playing time game. So.
Yeah. The thing about Mombasa that's really awesome is that discard mechanic and how you do your hands. That's worth the price of admission alone. Yeah, I mean, seriously, if that was the whole game, I might play it. You know what I mean?
I agree.
It's
pretty cool.
It's the best mechanic. You played this too, right, Clay?
I have it. I've read the rules and done just a couple I haven't gotten the full game to the table, but I know what it's all about. I like the stock holding aspect of it, but it's something that I would love to compare to Great Western Trail. I just don't have both of those, and I unfortunately haven't played both of them. But yeah, I think it'd be pretty good.
So Ryan, Alexander Pfister also did a game called Isle of Skye, which is like a Carcassonne-ish bidding type game, and it's really good. Like it's really phenomenal. And he does a couple of small games too. He did Port Royal, and what was the other one up there? Royal Goods, and both of those were really good. And so I recommend them. I think and those are very small games, but they really kind of pack a punch. So they're both like Euro. They're like very micro Euro games, and they're great. So Alexander Pfister, his heavy ones though, Mombasa, Great Western Trail. A lot of people think he's just like a man on fire right now. He can't do any wrong, and it's hard to disagree. He's doing
good
stuff.
Do you guys know if he's coming out with anything this year? I haven't heard anything.
Nothing announced that I know of, because I think it would have popped up on a geek list somewhere, with all the anticipation lists. So maybe, but nothing announced.
Maybe
and he goes
in at Essen or something.
Yeah.
I'll take a look to see what I can find.
Super light and super heavy, and so it just depends where he's gonna, fall right there. So I'm gonna talk about. So I'm going to talk about a game that is a little off the beaten path for our show, but this game is crazy. So this game is called Gloomhaven. And if you don't know about this game or haven't seen this game, the box is literally the biggest board game box that has ever existed. I kid you not. It is the size of like 2.5 Twilight Imperium boxes. It is a mass. And I'm not joking. It is massive. From what most people have said, there's like 2.5 years worth of gameplay in this game, because this is like a dungeon crawling campaign adventure style game put out by Isaac Childress of Cephalofair Games, and he also did the game Forge War. Now, his game Gloomhaven is absolutely incredible, because this is not a Descent dice rolling type game, because he doesn't like that kind of stuff. He is a heavy gamer, and he wanted a dungeon crawl game that would appeal to people like him. And so the way that this game works is you each have a character, and this is not your typical high Lord of the Rings fantasy. This is a very dark, gritty world that he created with his own races and everything. So it has a really deep, rich lore to it in this world of Gloomhaven. But you have this deck of cards. And so the character I'm playing is actually a magic user. And so I have this deck of cards that I choose from, 8 cards. And they all have top and bottom actions. It might be movement, special attacks, area attacks, all this different things, looting stuff. And so I have to put a bottom half of an action and a top half of an action together to use to do different effects. But what happens is every time you use these cards, they go to your discard mechanic. And eventually when you run out of cards, you have to rest. When you rest, you have to lose a card to what's known as the lost pile. And also, some of your cards have super powerful effects that can like devastate enemies, but you will lose those cards automatically. And the game works on kind of a timer where if you run out of cards, you're out, you're done, you're exhausted. And so you have to stop playing. And so it works really well, so that like every dungeon kind of has a timer on it where you only have so much stamina to go through it. Me and my group. Oh, what's that?
I'm just gonna say that I'll let you finish, but I want to chime in on this because this is really interesting to me.
Yeah, and so it's just really tense every time you have these equipment card that you get, and they kind of refresh themselves. But everything is like, this is heavier than most Euro games I play, because it's not just like, oh, I do 2 damage. They're very specifically coordinated to do very specific things, and every character is completely different. I mean, every character that has ever that I've seen that all of us doing different characters do completely different stuff. We don't feel like we're just rolling dice and you're stronger than me. It is completely separate mechanics. And so I'm a magic user. So I have this little board, and everybody has these cards, and some have leaf symbols, ice symbols, fire symbols. And all that does is it kind of charges a little bit of magic into the air. And if you have the right card and you play it when that magic is dispelled in the air, because it diminishes every turn, I could use these cards and play them, and I get like an extra stuff because that magic is like in the air, and so I can use that to like create like a bigger spell or something like that. And it's just all of these amazing mechanics. There's one guy that's a summoner, and he can create all of these summons to walk around the board and do stuff, and he controls them. The monsters are all incredibly different. There are 96 scenarios in this book, and it takes like 3 hours to finish one, because I mean, there is such a thought process in here. No dice in the whole game. But the coolest part is that this is a legacy aspect game. And so you are permanently altering different stuff in the game as you play through the campaign. And so what's going to happen is, as you go through this campaign, the city and the world is going to change. Different, like right now, it's a military-controlled world, but that can shift to being something completely different that opens up different opportunities. There's a storyline that we're following, but we have side quests to go to different dungeons. You get to a different point where you get enough like reputation. The world gets enough reputation that it becomes more it gets more prosperous, and so you get to add all of these extra items into the market decks when you go back to town to shop and stuff like that. It's insane. There's this giant map of the world, and as you uncover these different things in the dungeons, you find like, oh, now you have access to this dungeon, and you put this little sticker. So this might be a little bit of a spoiler, so cover your ears or whatever. But here's the thing about the game that I just found, like as soon as this happened, it blew my mind. In the very first dungeon, there was a hidden thing that we opened, and it was completely on accident. We found it, and that gave us access to an entire other area that we could go to. Wow. And I sat there and I was like, if people don't find this, their game is going to be completely different than our game, because we're following this whole little side quest thing, going to these different areas. And I'm like, if somebody goes to this dungeon and doesn't find this, they're going to be playing a completely different game than we are. And another really cool aspect is you don't keep your character forever. Your characters have like a career goal to fulfill. So like my character is like, he has to watch 3 other members of the party retire. And so they have to meet their career goals. And at a certain point, like one guy has to kill 10 types of a certain kind of character because he has like a vendetta against them or something. And when that happens, his character just retires and leaves and quits. You have to get a new character, and they start leveled up to where the party currently is at. But there's like all these different monsters. Oh man, it's incredibly crazy. I don't even know. It's massive. It's 2.5 years worth of game in a box. It's insanity. It's so cool. It's so interesting. And I'm just excited to play it more. I can't wait to play it more. And this is not my style of game, but if anyone that's a heavy gamer wants to play a dungeon crawl, this is the one to get. No dice, very heavy mechanics when it comes to what you're actually doing to complete stuff. And the legacy aspect is just heads and shoulders above any kind of a Descent type game. It is out of this world amazing. Highly recommend it. Phenomenal.
Is there a dungeon master?
No, it's completely all run by a AI, and the AI is super intelligent. Like the AI kicks your butt hard.
Wow.
And it's easy to manage too.
So my brothers aren't big board gamers. They're more into the like PlayStation and Xbox and all that good stuff. Nothing wrong with that, but I've always wanted to pull them into the hobby, and Descent, Arcadia Quest, that sort of line is something I've been looking at, just picking up just to play with them, just to, hang out and play with those guys. But this Isaac, man, he's a genius if he can pull this off without dice too. And I mean, that is impressive.
And here's the thing. It's out of print completely right now. Like people are scalping their copies for like $300 online. This one is actually going to be he's going to do a reprint Kickstarter this month. And I think it's going to break $1 million. I really do. This game looks incredible. So
nice.
It's awesome.
I'll
right,
have to
Clay.
take a look at it. I know several friends have copies, but of course I wasn't looking. So
Yeah, just look at the box, man. Just look at the box. It's
I've seen it.
crazy.
Yeah.
I was
All
at
right.
Gamma last week, and Southern Hobby, one of the distributors, and they had Gloomhaven there, and we were talking, and I was like, oh, I see you have Gloomhaven. You know, everybody, you could probably sell that here for $500 or whatever. And he's like, yeah, have you picked it up yet? I was like, no. He's like, how much do you think it weighs? He said, oh, that's a pretty good sized box. I would say around 8 to 10 pounds. And he's like, you want to double that? It's like, I think 21 pounds total. But when you pick that thing up, you feel it. There is some serious density to that thing. It's unbelievable, man.
Crazy. All right, Clay, go ahead and tell us about your game.
So we're going to go from Cult of the New way back, I think, to 1995 when El Grande came out. And we played the big box 4-player game of that. This is the granddaddy of all area control games, if you guys haven't played it yet. But it's very basic. You're going to bid for turn order, and depending on the bid you put out there, you're going to get some cubes to place on the board. And then you acquire a card, and it has a special ability on it. You're trying to have the biggest area majority in the different provinces around there. One of the cool things is there's a castle tower thing. You can throw some cubes in there. You don't know how many. I mean, if you're not counting, you don't really know who's got what in there. So it's always a just kind of like a random element. It's not random. It's more of like a hidden information there. So, but I played it, and I don't know, played it 3 or 4 times before this, and it's been a long time. We got it back to the table, and man, it's definitely starting to feel dated. It really is, but I enjoyed it.
Man.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I would rather play Dominant Species if I was going to play a game like that.
They're a little different, my friend, but okay.
They're a little different, but they are kind of. There's a lot of randomness in Dominant Species, yes, but El Grande, you have a little bit more control, a little bit more tactical. But I think if I had to choose between the two, man, I definitely would make a hard push for Dominant Species.
Yeah, I mean, El Grande is pretty simple, right? It's a pretty light game.
It was actually I think it won the Spiel des Jahres.
It did.
But that's like best family game, right? Not the
Yeah, well, you look at the Spiel this year and like the previous few years, this game would never be nominated for that kind of award. If it was going to be nominated, it would be the Kennerspiel. I think it's just that award has evolved, but yeah, it can be Catan, I think, is a family game, but that game can last a little bit, like 2 hours in length. Our game of El Grande lasted about 2 hours. It was good. I enjoyed it. So
yeah,
it's a good game. I mean,
it's
that's
good
how
to
I
dust
felt.
off.
It was a good game. After that was good. That's just the
It's good to dust off those old games every once in a while, pull them back out, just see what's what. But speaking of pulling out games and getting a fresh take on them, Ryan, why don't you update us on how you've been doing with the Colonists?
Yeah, so I'm going to talk a little bit about that because it's real short, and then I'm going to add a game to after that because, new stuff is good. No, so Colonists, I've had a couple new plays on. One with more than 2 players, so that's the nice aspect. Is I was curious as to how different it would feel with 3 or 4, right? Because in 2, there's not much interaction, there's not much blocking, there's not much having to pay the fee that you have to pay if you take a spot that somebody else is on. So we've talked about the game a lot in the past. I'm not going to go over the mechanisms of it too much, but adding in that extra player or 2 really kind of messes up the board. The board doesn't get any bigger, right? The board's the same size. 2, 3, 4 players. And so suddenly there's a lot more of this trying to figure out how I can effectively maneuver the board and not have to pay extra resources. Additionally, we've come across some colony combinations that are less than optimal when you're trying to get a lot of things done quickly. Let's just say that anything that doesn't offer you any additional storage, and if you fall in a situation where no additional storage comes out until the last tile placement of an era, it can get real slow, real fast. It happens. And you've just got to figure out a better way to get points because you're not holding more than, 9 goods in any reasonable shape. And sometimes if you want to really be effective, you can't play with just 9 goods. So the game feels very, very different play to play, in my opinion. And that's good for me because that means that I will continue to play it. Because if it felt samey, I'd stop. The other thing I wanted to talk about just to bring up quickly, because I brought it out. I brought out Glory to Rome, the black box, recently.
Ooh, yes.
And I forgot how amazing that game is. For a card game, there's just so much going on there. If you haven't played Glory to Rome, the concept is every card in the game can be used in either it's 3 or 4 different ways. They can be goods, they could be buildings, they can be workers. And I think that's actually it now that I think about it. But you're effectively trying to plan out how to use all of these cards and also maximize your actions, which you're using to take the cards. That's the 4th one. You can take actions with them. Figured it out. While minimizing the actions that everyone else gets to take. It doesn't have to be the black box. I know the black box is impossible to get, which is a shame. But get the normal version. There's nothing different. Don't pay $200 or whatever it is for the black box. Get a normal copy of Glory to Rome. Play it. Great card game. And it fits in like the world's tiniest space. So take it with you and do things with it. Great game.
Yeah. That's awesome. I need to get it played. I've played Matainai. Yeah, I played Matainai a bunch, and then
sounds good.
Yeah, so I want to get that one played. I haven't played Glory to Rome actually. So
it's so good.
All right. So apparently, I got a lot of heat after the last episode on social media because apparently me not liking Sekigahara is equivalent to like kicking some people's children in the face. So I definitely got a little bit of people putting some pressure on me because of that. But to follow up with some very more controversial opinions in the heavy game world, my first play of Nations Inc. Okay, and so really? Nations is a kind of a big, sprawling civilization-style game. Now, I've played Through the Ages a ton, and I really like Through the Ages. I played Nations, and I instantly said, Through the Ages, no, Nations is a better game, in my opinion. Okay, that's my opinion. That is not fact.
It's also wrong. It's also wrong. But
I think Through the Ages is a great game. But Nations kind of gives me more of what I want out of a civilization game because you have to work with what comes out into the tableau. And there's a ton of cards that come out, but you just have to work with whatever of the 40 cards that come out in an era are, and you just have to deal with it. And I like that aspect of having to work around what comes out. And that almost feels more like a Civ game because in Through the Ages, every game is like, I'm going this direction. So when cannons come out, I need to take cannons. In Nations, you don't know that cannons are going to come out. You just have to roll with the punches and you have to adapt to whatever the civilization and what the world building is going to do. And sometimes Through the Ages can feel a little, and not a lot, but a little scripted. If you start going heavy war, you can't really switch. You're stuck doing heavy war. And so when the heavy war cards come out, everyone either A, tries to block you from them, or you try to get them. And that's all that's going to happen in Through the Ages. In Nations, there's no telling. And now I've only played Nations a couple times now. And so my opinion is not definitive. But after my first play, I was just like, dang, this game is really what I'm looking for in a Civ game, a little bit more than Through the Ages. And here's another kind of thing. It plays in like a third of the time, which
is this much is true.
It's not, that's, you can't, it really gives you the same feel, and it's like half the time. You can't argue with that. I mean, that is a thing to consider, but I really like Nations. No disparaging comments about Through the Ages. It's a great game, but I think if I'm going to pull out a Civ game with some people, my vote's going to go for Nations, I think, from this point forward. Not that I won't play Through the Ages still, but man, I really like Nations.
I got to take that and go into my next one because I played the new edition.
Now wait, you've played Nations a lot, and this is your first time playing Through the Ages, right?
Okay, so I played the old school version from Eagle Griffin, the really crappy presentation. I was so turned off by it. It just
Okay.
The new edition and the new rules really help out that game a lot. I forgot how complex that game was or is. It is very, very heavy compared to Nations. Now, I came into it liking Nations more than Through the Ages. And exactly what you said, Joe. I relate to it, where you are given, everybody's given this information, this era. You have to dance around it and make best use of it for what you have. And if you're going to get screwed, you're going to get screwed. I mean, you have to prepare. You have to dance with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so Through the Ages, you can definitely predict. You've got this scrolling card stream of just the same cards coming through and different. It's probably going to be different, every time. But I think for what it is, I like the complexity of Through the Ages more. I really do. I like that you can craft a long-term strategy. I'm a big proponent of that. However, when it comes to the end of the day, you're stuck with 2 players, maybe 3 with that game. I would just, oh my God. I would want to play it with people that have played it many, many times, 3 players. Otherwise, you're looking at an incredibly long game. Nations, you've got 2 through 5, well, 1 through 5. But then what's super cool about this game is, let's say, Joe, I've played it more than you, I've doubled the amount of times you've played it, so I'm probably going to want to increase my difficulty level or handicap myself.
That was a cool aspect.
It is so awesome. We had somebody do that. They played on the king level, which you basically anytime you level up 1 level, you're just getting 1 resource less than the other players. That is so crucial. I mean, just that 1 resource is unbelievably crucial.
Yeah.
It's so important.
It changes everything. Yeah.
It does. And the guy got crushed that was playing it. And I like it because it has that flexibility. We got into a nice war battle. Like, it was just building up armies. It was a 3-player game when we were doing this. And then all of a sudden somebody drafts the war card, and one guy was just like, screw it. I'm not messing with this. I'm not building up my armies I'm just going to get hit with this war card. So I enjoy Nations more, and then you also have the different nations that have different abilities.
Yeah, I like that.
Super cool. But Through the Ages, yes, don't get me wrong, I enjoy the game. You have to plan for this long game, and if you want a long-term strategy game, go with Through the Ages. If you want more of a tactical dance, round to round, like a boxing match, I think Nations is the way to go. That's my opinion, but hey.
Yeah. Ryan, you want to weigh in on the Nations versus Through the Ages debate?
Not really, no.
Do you have a preference?
It's been too long since I've played Through the Ages to really comment. So I very much so liked both, to be honest with you. But I couldn't draw a comparison. It's been so long since I've played either of them at this point that anything I say won't be relevant. So
okay. Well, go ahead and take us right into your next game then.
Sure. Right into my next game. So the third game we were talking about Isaac earlier. So we're gonna bring it back. We're gonna talk about Forge War. I've had it on my shelf since it came out.
Yep.
And it finally got to the table sometime between last show and this show. So I have a couple things to say about it. So Forge War, interesting game. It's kind of a mixture of a somewhat abstract-ish mine management concept combined with what you would call the drafting and management of a party for completing quests, but in a very Euro-y manner, in like the most non-dungeon crawly, non-questy dungeon crawl / quest-based game ever. And so I got it to the table. This was actually my second play. So the first play, we played like the partial, not full epic game, whatever it was.
Right.
Mistake. I don't know why I ever bothered doing that, because I'm like, why did I do this? Now I know how to play a game that's not the game. And so we went back and we played the full game with 3 players. And I'm going to be honest with you. I really like the abstract mine management portion of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And the rest of it I don't give a shit about. So it's not that there's anything wrong with the rest of the game. It's that my brain really loves the aspect of how can I get all of the resources that I want to get to do this next thing, and then I do the next thing, and I'm like, meh. And so that's kind of the feeling I got from it. I think the design aspects of the game are excellent. I think that the way that it puts that abstract portion, or whatever you want to call that, it's a spatial reasoning portion of the game. And it uses that for the resource generation is excellent. And I think that managing those resources is great. And I just think that the theme then falls apart for me because it's just not a theme that I care about. And so the rest of the game, it's not that there's anything wrong with that quest completion part. There's some excellent resource management going on there. It's just that I have no tie-in to caring about what happens from that point on.
So I will say one other problem with the game is that's as much as I can get my box closed.
Yeah. Oh wow!
So that's
do you still have an insert in there?
I have it all Play-Note up, so like it's organized to hell and back. So
mine's in bags and just tossed in there. So I have it closed, but
so yours takes 3 hours to set up.
I'd say 30 minutes, but sure.
Okay.
Oh my god.
So
Arkwright setup.
Yeah. So I want to weigh in on Forge War here. It really is a divisive game because you're either gonna, and you know what though, I'm not even gonna say it's a love it or hate it. I think it's a like it game. And that's about it. Because that's the thing is, I don't see that there's going to be many people that are just going to love this game because what it is you're just managing like fantasy spreadsheets is all you're doing.
It's Euro fantasy. You're like, woohoo.
Yeah. And I mean, it's not even Euro. It's just like spreadsheets on and you're just like managing little tracks and trying to manipulate resources to the right people at the right times. And so there's an aspect to it that I think you can get a real deep gratification out of it. But at the end of the day, you just spent like 2.5 hours playing a game where you just kind of push cubes across cards.
Yeah, I'm leveling these dudes up for this quest, and I'm like, I don't care about this, though. Who cares?
No, but you got to admit, though, some of those quests crack me up.
Yeah, there's some funny stuff, yeah.
There's like the Fish King blockades the dock is one of my favorite one, but my absolute favorite one is entertain the grumble sore, which is like there's this guy hiding behind a rock from a dinosaur and another guy like distracting him. And so there's like a kind of a sense of humor in the game, but
awesome.
It's crazy. It's silly, but the guy's got design chops, but Isaac's thing, and I'm a friend of his, Isaac's thing is that he really wants to make these heavy games that he likes with a theme that appeals to people that won't touch them. And so that's kind of what he's going about. And I think Gloomhaven was a much better entry point into that. And I really think, I think Gloomhaven is maybe one of the best games that's ever been created, but I've only played like 5 missions, which is like 15 hours, but whatever. But yeah, Forge War, it's going to go either way for you.
The easy way to say this is I won't be keeping it. So, but I have a friend that really likes it, so he's going to have it.
Yeah. All right. So it wouldn't be a good episode of The Deep End if I did not mention an 18xx game. And so I got in an incredible play of an 18xx game the other day. I had a couple of people over to my house and we managed in a 6-hour game of 1880. And 1880 is building railways in China by Henry O. And I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his last name, but he does 00 games. You'll probably know him because 2 of his other games are 44 and 54, which Mayfair put out in that dual box. Excuse me. And so 1880, what 1880 is it's a Chinese game about building Chinese railways. There's a ton of companies in the game, but it's definitely a run good companies game. But there are so many different aspects. First of all, very cool private powers. Amazing private powers in this game. You also, everyone gets to draft these financial investors, which are little mini corporations. But when you can hook your first company up to it, you get all of their money and get to decide, do I want to keep it for me or put it into my company? And so there's a really cool aspect there. Another really cool thing is the map is bonkers with what you can do on it. It is absolutely crazy. Like there's Beijing, which is like the big middle city, and it is just a free-for-all in there where in Brown, all the individual spaces just become one giant thing, and you can just run in and out of there like crazy, and it's worth a ton of money. It has ferries in it, so you can take water routes if you need to. There's some really incredible stuff in the game. But one of the coolest aspects of this one is there is a communism phase. And so when you hit brown phase in 18xx games, which it goes yellow, green, brown, and gray, brown is known as communism. And what happens is communism starts and no one's stock prices move. You can pay, you can withhold, you can sell. You know how you can sell everyone shares to tank their stock price? You can't do that during communism. You can sell all their shares and their stock just stays where it is because the government says, no one's stock is moving. There's no stock market happening right now. But then you come out of communism into gray and everybody just explodes forward because they got all this money to reinvest and to do different stuff with. And the game just rockets towards the end. And so it's just setting yourself up in communism for just a huge explosive finish. And so it was a really incredible game. Oh, one more fascinating thing about this game is there is a fixed turn order. So in an 18xx game, the way you run companies is highest share value to lowest share value. That doesn't matter. In this one, you are just going to run from, if you're the first company that started at $100 par price, you will always run first. Always, because it's whoever starts at 100, 90, 80, 70, you get set on this track and you just run through the track. And it's really, really cool. There's no set operating round 1, 2, and then stock round. The stock rounds just happen inadvertently when anyone buys the last type of train. And so if a lot of people go a long time without buying any trains, the government just eats the entire stack of that number of train. And so there's a lot of crazy stuff in this one, but it is by far a really excellently designed game and probably my second favorite 18xx game that I've played. This is like my third play of it, and I just find it absolutely fascinating. It's one of the best ones that I own. I really love 1880. Great game. Comments, anyone? No?
Nope.
Nope. I haven't played it.
Yeah. All right. Clay, I'm really interested in this game you're about to talk about because I looked it up on The Geek, and it has the creepiest box cover I've ever seen. So tell me a little bit about this game.
Moza, I changed it, but I'll mention it real quick. It's a 15-minute game. The players play one round.
Spell it out, Clay. What's it called?
Kamozza. Moza. You're exporting goods from China or Japan, and there's two ports: Port A, Port B. What? It's got a smiley face.
Oh my God!
He's excited to export your goods. He's really excited about this.
Hold on, guys.
Screen share?
Yeah, I'm working on it.
Oh, hey, Ryan. Wait, there it is. Ryan, find the picture of the gold-eating rat card. There's a picture, and yes. I think there's a picture of a card that says gold-eating rat, and that is another creepy picture.
Okay.
I don't have it down here.
I'll go grab it. I got it. Don't worry. I'll get it. I was
going to grab my copy, but I don't have it down here. It's upstairs.
All right. So how does this game work?
It's super simple. Port A and Port B have a ship that goes there, and it's a random value. It'll have a number on it. That's how much weight that ship can have. On your turn, you're just going to take one of those. I think there's 6 cards you have, and they're all different goods with different numbers on them. That's the weight and the victory point value. You're going to pick 1 or 2 of those cards and put them face down, and it goes around the table. Then you pick a port. Do you want to load all your goods on port A or port B? And so then everybody chooses one port face down. Then you reveal everything, and if the goods at port B are exceeding the boat's capacity, then the boat sinks and all your goods go to the bottom of the ocean. But if the boat ships out, then you're good. Those are your victory points. And then you just play one round.
Look at that gold-eating rat.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
Look at that bad boy.
That is an interesting game, Clay.
The rats eat the gold. So if you put gold on there and somebody puts a gold-eating rat, your gold is now gone.
Boy.
So
that's very thematic. Did you like
Kamozza.
it? Is it good?
It's a good. Hey, we're gonna be at a bar, so we'll just play this for 10 minutes and have a good time. It's got a good couple laughs.
All right, what are you going to talk about, man?
I played Terra Mystica, a 5-player game for the first time ever, and that was incredible. I thought it was going to be a little bit too much downtime, but no, it was one of the best gaming experiences I've had in a long time. We broke out the new expansion, the Fire and Ice one. I was the River Walkers, and I think everybody else was one of the races from the base game. But I did play one rule wrong. It just affected one of my dwellings, but it was a really tense game. I had 2 cities at the end of this game. It was just a great battle. I mean, you're in there with everybody, and it came down to a couple points at the end of the game. But I enjoyed it.
Who'd you play?
The River Walkers. It's one of the new races.
Yeah. Do you like them?
I enjoyed it because what they do is you can only build along the river. You have to think about it. This is what I played wrong. You can't use adjacency on land. You have to use adjacency through the river. You start with a shipping value of 1, and that's it. You cannot increase that value at all. So at most, you have a shipping value of 2 if you get one of the tiles that has the +1 shipping on it at the beginning of your turn.
You can't use adjacency by land? Damn.
No, and that's a mistake. I broke the rule on that. I thought it was just you have to be along the river, but no.
Right.
You have to take off, go into the river, and then come back off onto land. It's super interesting because there's no terraforming at all. You have to take all of your cultists and put it on the terraforming wheel, and then you're going to take one of those off that that any of the other players are not a home base of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So nobody was being the sand people, so that was my starting race, and so I took it off. When you acquire a cultist, you can either take that cultist like normal, or you can remove a cultist off your terraforming wheel. So now you can build on that type of land. And
that's cool.
It took the whole workers were meaningless in this game. The only thing you needed them for were to build the buildings, and I had a ton of workers in this game, and it was a different feel for Terra Mystica. Very different feel. If you guys have played Terra Mystica a lot, I highly recommend trying the River Walkers because it takes the whole shovel system out of the game. Takes it completely out of the game. It's a different feel, and it was great.
I'm gonna have to give that a shot.
Yeah,
that sounds awesome, man.
Yeah, so that was Terra Mystica for me.
Yeah, we got in a bunch of good plays this week, some good gaming talk, but we're going to move on to my favorite segment and many of y'all's favorite segment out there who have commented, and we're going to get into the Geek Out segment of the show where we're just going to tell you about one thing in our life that we are currently geeking out about. And so, Clay, go ahead and lead us off and tell us what you're geeking out about, man.
I finally saw The Arrival. Hey!
Dude,
should have won Best Picture of the Year, but it didn't.
I haven't seen Moonlight or La La Land, so I got to see both of those.
Both very good.
Yeah, I think you tweeted that Moonlight deserved it, though, right?
Yeah.
Or did I misinterpret that?
No, Moonlight deserved it. It's much more of an Oscar pick than the other ones. And do not take this the wrong way, but the movie did not speak to me because all of the elements it was about, I cannot relate to in any way. And so while I can appreciate it as a film and what it did and the story that it tells, I can't relate to the movie on any kind of a level. And so for me, it just didn't do much. But I'm sure for a lot of people out there, the movie really spoke to them on a deep level. But that's kind of my opinion on Moonlight. But it was a phenomenal movie. But go ahead, tell me about what you thought about The Arrival. I'm excited.
I don't want to spoil it for anybody. Do you think I should just talk about it and say?
Yeah, don't spoil, but just what did you think? How'd you go into it? Because you were hyped on this one.
I was hyped on it, so that kind of diminished it a little bit for me. Not gonna lie. Anytime a movie or anything gets super hyped, it will definitely not have the same effect that other people had on it. But I thought the cinematography was phenomenal, just especially with the ships, how they float above the land, and just the way everything looks. It was great. But the whole aspect about communication, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but yeah, I will say this. I would want to do it. I would want to know, if you know what I mean.
All right, there.
That would be my choice. That would be my choice.
Yeah, it doesn't spoil it because they won't know what you're talking about until they know what you're talking about. So, no, yeah, it was a great movie. I loved it. So I want to get into the thing I've been geeking out about. So I've been having to pick up a lot of overtime at my job lately. And so I've been having to like double up on my podcast listening for the last couple of weeks. And what's really been helping me through is Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. Now, this is a podcast that I have listened to for a while now, but I just finished his entire, so what Dan Carlin does is Dan Carlin is a historian, and he does these very long, like 3-4 hour segment podcasts, and he'll break them up. And so he just did this entire series called Blueprints to Armageddon, which was all about World War I. And he did like 5-hour segments on World War I. And he is phenomenal to listen to. He's amazing to like give you different aspects. He's very impartial. And so he's not somebody that kind of goes off on political rants and stuff like that. He has opinions. He'll tell you what his opinions are, but he's very impartial about the entire thing. But he is just great to listen to. And I learned so much about like a part of history that I love. Like I love World War I. It's always been my favorite war. But he opened up my eyes to so much different stuff about it. My favorite, yeah. So that was a weird statement.
Fair enough, I guess. Whatever. Better than World War II, I suppose. I don't know.
It's to me, World War II was an action movie. World War I was a horror movie. And
sorry, I just meant that it's a better statement to say that you were a fan of World War I over World War II, probably.
I get, yeah. I really like the Hardcore History series. I'm about to start listening to he's just did one on King Xerxes of Persia, I believe it was. And so he has like a couple 3-hour episodes about that called King of Kings. And I'm excited to give that one a listen to as well. And so Hardcore History, if you've got a ton of time to kill at your job or you commute a long time, man, drop one of these things in and it will just really pass the time by fast because you don't even realize that 4 hours went by and you finished the podcast. It's great. So Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, but I'm very excited to hear about Ryan's because I've been hearing nothing about hype for this. So
nothing but hype for The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is finally out after, I don't even know. I know they delayed it for a year before because it was supposed to be on the Wii U, and it is on the Wii U, but I have it on the Switch. And so this doesn't sound like a lot because I think most people have either more time or just dedicate more time to this than I do. But I've already put in 30 to 40 hours on the game, and it's been out for maybe 2 weeks. So, I mean, I know people that put in like 100 hours in the first week. I mean, it was insanity. But the game is just phenomenal. And I know, Joe, I know you're not a video gamer. Clay, I don't actually know if you do much video gaming at all, but
I used to. Okay, I have an appreciation for it. I do.
Sure. So if you ever did any of the Zelda stuff in the past,
Ocarina of Time, baby.
Yeah, Ocarina of Time. Okay. So Ocarina was the greatest Zelda game in history, right? Until about 2 weeks ago.
Stop, Ryan. You need to stop right now.
and so the game is, here's the thing. So if you took Skyrim, right? You take Skyrim and you add Zelda and you put them together, that's this game. And so you can do anything. You don't want to go do quests? Fine. Walk around the world. You want to go beat the game in the first hour? If you're good enough, go do it. But if you don't want to do that, play for 200 hours before you go beat the game. You want to ride a bear? Ride a bear. You want to, it's anything. Anything you want to do. You can pick apples for 3 hours if you want. You can climb trees, jump off a cliff. Who cares? It doesn't matter. You can walk around and get lost in the game for hours upon hours, and it feels like 15 minutes.
That's incredible. Oh,
and then if you have a Switch, you just pick it up and you walk away with it and you play it elsewhere. And that's the amazing part, is it's portable too. So just
how
phenomenal.
Are the quests? Is it a grind? Are you just grinding through the game?
Some of the quests are a grind. So I just did a couple where I was like, I really don't want to do these. I still did them. Don't get me wrong. because it was like, go find 10 of this thing. But most of the time, it's not go find 10 of this thing and bring it back to me. It's not the wow, like, hey, go kill 10 boars and bring me their teeth. It's more of a, hey, I need you to go find this stuff and tell me what it says on it. So you're navigating different parts of the terrain or climbing cliffs or doing a variety of different things. But it's not really that quest driven, and most of the quests are relatively easy to turn around in a short period of time. And honestly, you don't have to do any of them if you don't want to. Most of the quests are side quests. Very rarely is there a main campaign quest that you're forced to do in any type of order.
Wow.
So here's the thing about that is the last video game I played was in college, and I played through Final Fantasy 3.
Okay.
And that's the super long, grindy one, but like one of the it's always in like the top 10 hardest games of all time thing, but it's just because it's a straight grind all the way through. And man, I just like think that experience burnt me out on video games permanently. And I don't know. I mean, this sounds fascinating, but like, I just don't know if I could get into it and like spend time doing it and be interested if I'm just really just kind of grinding my way through the game.
So let me tell you this before you go too much further. There is no experience-based leveling in this game.
Okay.
So you don't have to ever fight anything if you don't want to. Say for a couple things. Obviously, you have to fight Ganon at the end of the game and stuff like that. But, yeah.
Not if you don't want to. Just pick apples.
That's fine. You don't have to, actually. Yeah, just go pick some apples.
So this is open world, right?
Oh, yeah. Like, ridiculously open world.
Are you a Skyrim guy?
I have played Skyrim.
Can you give me a basis on, like, okay, is it different, similar, better, worse?
In terms of?
How open world it is?
It's completely open. Completely. You can, at the beginning of the game, walk directly to Hyrule Castle and fight Ganon if you would like. You can walk to the edge of the world if you would like. Right now, you can just go and go. It's completely open. There's no bars.
Well, then it's not completely open if there's an edge to the world. Just saying.
Well, okay, I suppose it doesn't randomly generate additional world, but it's huge.
I'm just teasing.
I played 30 to 40 hours. I have revealed 4 map areas of 13.
Is there a story? Is it story driven though?
Yes, of course.
Okay.
It's a Zelda game.
It sounds amazing. I'd like to hear some more updates of this as you get further.
I will, but my wife's out playing right now, so.
Okay.
She likes it. That's good. That's good.
She's gonna pick all the apples.
She spent a lot of time picking apples. So.
All right. So we're gonna get into a new segment here on the Deep End Podcast, and so we've got a little bit of an intro for you. In the year 9 BC, Rome was at the height of their military conquest and expanding their reach into the furthest parts of the known world. Not a military in the world stood against them until they encountered a Germanic officer who had acquired Roman citizenship and had received a Roman military education, thus enabling him to deceive the Roman commander methodically and anticipate the Roman army's tactical responses. 3 legions of Roman troops were repelled beyond the Rhine that day. And while that had led to many campaigns to conquer the Germanic lands over the centuries, none proved successful. The victory of the Germanic tribes against the Rome legions in the Teutoburg Forest would have far-reaching effects on the subsequent history of both the ancient Germanic people and the Roman Empire. Contemporary and modern historians have regarded that as Rome's greatest defeat and one of the most decisive military battles ever recorded in history and a turning point in world history. This may have been the first, but not the last time, that German culture would have far-reaching and lasting impact upon ancient Rome. In 2011, a famed German game designer created a game prominently featuring all aspects of ancient Rome. While many consider this majestic manifestation of Mancala to be his magnum opus, others consider this mishmash of meandering minigames to be a themeless and overhyped drivel. Today, the Deep End shines a spotlight on Stefan Feld.
Yes.
So this is the spotlight segment of the Deep End. Every week we are going to take a different designer, a different board game publisher, maybe a mechanic, and we are going to shine the spotlight on it and just go round table, completely open discussion, and just talk about a subject. And man, this is one that has been being requested for a while now. We are going to get into Stefan Feld, okay? We are going to talk about Stefan Feld until we are done and get it all out on the table, all of our thoughts, all of our opinions. But I'm going to just go ahead and turn this over to Ryan and let him take over and tell us his thoughts on Stefan Feld.
His baby.
So I think my thoughts on Stefan Feld are pretty well known. But I will lead out, and I'll say that I think Stefan Feld has had a rather prolific career over the last several years here. I mean, it's been since I got into the hobby, so we're not that long, but 8 or 9 years now. What he does well and what I love about him is obviously not his thematic integration, right? What I think Stefan Feld shines at is taking one relatively simple mechanism. And it varies from game to game, clearly. So in Castles of Burgundy, it's that dice rolling and dice utilization. In things like Trajan, it's clearly the Mancala aspect of it. In something like let's say
Castles of Burgundy, it's the dice.
Yeah, I thought I said that already, didn't I?
But anyhow,
bidding. Or in Bruges, it's that the utilization of those cards in multiple different aspects. And what he does is he takes a game and he focuses the entire game around that aspect. And yes, so for example, he tends to make mini games or smaller portions of games out of that. But in reality, it's all focused around this central mechanism. And so while it seems scattered to a lot of people, and in ways it is scattered, for example, in Trajan, where you're really playing 8 or 10 different mini games, it all really focuses back on that central core aspect of the game and how you can best manage that aspect to play the rest of it. And so to me, it's not really as divisive or as non-unified as people make it sound when you're talking about these point salads or this aspect of having to micromanage several different aspects of the game. It's really about maximizing one aspect of the game and utilizing that to your advantage in other portions.
So my history
in most of the games.
Yes. So my history with Stefan Feld has been fast and decisive, which is not fair. My first Stefan Feld game was Bruges, and I thought it was a miserable experience of a game. My second experience with Stefan Feld was Amerigo, which I thought was just pointless and boring.
I agree with you on that one.
After that, I moved on, and I've played Castles of Burgundy, and I thought, okay, and I'm going to tell you, this is very early in my gaming career. And I was like, oh, this designer and what he's coming out with. This is when I was just playing games. Castles of Burgundy I played, and I thought it was neat. I thought it was a neat game. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was fun. Trajan I played, and I really enjoyed it, but I didn't get why it was just so mishmash of different things. I mean, it works very well, but I just couldn't get in my mind why this had to be such a kind of a slog of a game to kind of get through and to teach people, because it was like teaching them 6 or 7 different games. Bora Bora I played, loved it. Loved Bora Bora. I really think, in my opinion, that's his best game.
Now, can we stop for a second before you go on? Because I have a question there.
Okay.
Because Bora Bora, in terms of the design, is most similar to Trajan. Because you have this mishmash of several different things that you're doing again, right? I mean, it's
Yes,
not like
yes.
a unified. There's no unified story to Bora Bora where you're like, this all makes sense.
No, it's a game of mini games. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And so it mystifies me a little bit where Trajan doesn't feel like it's right to you, and there's something that bothers you about that, but Bora Bora doesn't.
And here's my thing. I think the interconnectivity of Trajan is where, to me, that game falls apart. Because yes, the Mancala ties it all together, but this does not affect this does not affect this, and this does not affect this. You're just playing separate mini games. In Bora Bora, the entire game has a cohesive core to it where all of your things are synergizing together. You're trying to build synergy between the different mini games you're playing. That right there, to me, made me feel like it at that point was the heaviest game of his I had played, because a lot of his other games I didn't find heavy. I didn't find Trajan heavy. I just found it just unintuitive, I guess would be the word I would put it across as.
It's a medium. It's a medium game.
Yeah. Bora Bora I found much more on the heavier side of games, and I thought it was by far my favorite. I also like Aquasphere. A lot of people don't, but I thought Aquasphere was a fine game. I like the little programming aspect. But I don't, and I know it's more of a joke that me and Ryan have kind of started with each other from the beginning. I don't hate Stefan Feld. I don't think he's a bad designer, but I don't care if he's coming out with something new, because Bora Bora is my favorite Stefan Feld game, and I really enjoy it. And it is not in my top 50 games of all time.
Sure.
And that's where kind of I fall with Stefan Feld. But I just want to preface this. I have not played In the Year of the Dragon. I think I would like that. I have not played the speakers the speaker shot. I think I would like that.
You need to play that, dude. You got everybody that has that enjoys Stefan Feld, or doesn't enjoy it for that matter, needs to try that, because it's completely out of his wheelhouse.
It is. It's not the same thing.
Yeah. No, you don't. You would never guess in a million years as a Stefan Feld game ever.
And Luna, I haven't played that one. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I've also played Macau, so
dude, that's such a good game.
We won't bring that up.
So Clay, you haven't said much to this yet, so I'd be curious to hear what Clay has to say, and then I have a little loop back point that I'd like to bring up.
Oh no, absolutely, yeah. We're keep this going.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the games of Stefan Feld are mini games in game. It's a game of just one core mechanic, like you said, and then just stuff built around that, which is amazing to me, because that works. If it works and scores are relatively close together and you have a nice battle all the way to the end, that's a great design. He has no theme. That doesn't really bother me. Theme can... I agree with... So I listened to Heavy Cardboard's latest episode, and I agree with them. Theme can definitely enhance a game. Theme does not make the game. The mechanics make the game. So if there was some more core theme built around the actions you're doing and stuff, I think that would definitely help his case for me. But so my first game of Stefan Feld was, I believe it was the Speakerstadt or Macau. They were played within weeks of each other. And the Speakerstadt was a great game. It's a core bidding game. I absolutely enjoyed it. Your maximum score is not traditional with a Stefan Feld. I think the max score you can get is 30 or something like that in this game. But I really enjoyed the bidding. It's a very unique bidding action. Macau, I enjoy, guys, and you should try it one more time. You would have a blast. I like the rondelle. It's action programming with this rondelle. It's super cool how it works. I really like that.
I need to try it one more time? Trust me, I don't need to try it one more time.
Ryan, when you come to Origins...
No, I am not.
Yes.
There's so many better games to play. Why would I break that one out again just to prove that it's mediocre at best?
It's good. You guys, okay. We will
agree. I'll give it a shot with you, but Joe doesn't have to play.
Yeah, I don't want to.
He doesn't want to. But just two more things. Castles of Burgundy is... For a tradition, I'm tied between Burgundy and Speakerstadt. I like both a lot. Trajan or whatever is it didn't hit me at all. I mean, I played it and it's just not. it's just stuff. I think, Joe, you said that it's stuff. To me, that's what it is. It's Rondell, or it's the Macau, or Jesus Christ.
Mancala.
Yeah, Mancala with stuff built around it. And just didn't leave me with anything exciting. That's the extent of what I've played of Steffenfeld. I would enjoy his games if I wanted to really pursue playing them. I think
I can understand that.
So I'm going to come back to this because I want to address several things that have been said, in particular disparaging remarks about Trajan. But so there are. I mean, so I have obviously quite the reputation for being a Feld fanboy, and I don't deny it, right? But let me come back and say he has made some terrible goddamn games.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some really bad Steffenfeld games out there. I have played many Steffenfelds. So I played, for example, Arena Roma, right? Has anybody played Arena Roma or Roma? What a terrible game. Just awful. Hate it. And I don't even remember anything about it because I remember I was such a Steffenfeld fan and I played it and was like, what is this trash? I never want to see this again. I want to forget that it exists. And so the issue with me here, and where I think he's kind of dividing his what I would consider great games, things like Castles of Burgundy, Trajan, Notre Dame, which nobody has mentioned yet, by the way. Notre Dame is a classic, and that game is fantastic. And it's a role selection game, but things like that versus games where he kind of steps away from this utilization of that one core mechanism that I'm talking about, his kind of what I would call his design theory, at least in his good titles, he kind of steps away from. So I don't even know what I would call, I guess it's cube utilization in Amerigo. I don't know what happened with that game, but as you said, Joe, bad. Like, whoa, bad. I got it, and I was immediately like, no. Luna is actually super weird. I actually recommend trying Luna. It's a super weird game, but it's not great. It's not a great game. It happens. I just played this one recently. Whoa, super light and trash. Don't play it. But, I mean, the point here is that I think he does a certain thing well. And if he's not doing that thing, I think it tends to fall apart. And so he's not great at stepping, in my opinion, outside of that wheelhouse of where he tends to shine. And it's the point salad game of using one mechanism to do mini games. As long as he keeps doing that, I'm going to keep buying. Now, Trajan, let's come back to that for a second.
Mm-hmm.
The reason that I enjoy Trajan, and I'm gonna put this out there, is that I think it's the game of his, in my opinion, that best rewards the planning of multiple future actions. And it's on the line of Macau. Macau is similar in this aspect. I'll give you that. Mm-hmm. And it's almost a similar way of doing it in that you have to think about, if I move these 3 Mancala pieces, right? How is this going to affect my entire tableau for the next 3 times or 4 times that I move Mancala pieces on this board? And if you can get your head wrapped around if I move these 3 pieces, then it allows me to move these 4 pieces, then it allows me to move these 2 pieces, which then lets me move this 1 piece and do this. There's a lot of advanced strategy you can put in there. Now, this gets a little bit messed up with in terms of other people are also doing things, right? So it doesn't necessarily always work that way, but I can control this board in front of me. And from there, I can try and maximize what I'm able to do on that board out on the mini game board. And that's why the game shines to me.
Mm-hmm.
But for some reason, it doesn't apply to Macau. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I think for me, when I just thinking about it, I played Trajan twice, and there was a lot of downtime because a lot of people were doing that. They were, okay, if I do this on my thing, and then my next turn I could do this, and then, oh, no, I want to go back. No, hold on. Let me redo that. And I don't know.
Trajan is also one of those games that gets played on those super high levels by like almost to where like you can professionally play Trajan. And all that the game boils down to for people like that is how much farther can you think ahead Mancala moves than the other people sitting at the table. If I can plan my Mancala moves 50 turns in advance, I'm going to destroy you. And that's just kind of what the game ends up being in a way, because it really is just managing that Mancala to do what you want. And I find that interesting, but I don't want to sit there and do it for 2 hours. I just kind of felt like at the end of it, I was like, I mean, my brain hurts, but not because the game was heavy, but just because I'm sitting here just staring at this thing, trying to figure it out. And I just don't know.
I'm totally okay with that, but yeah.
So real quick, we're going to go through, and I kind of have all of the different Stefan Feld games in order of how BGG ranked them. So from number 1 all the way down to the last one. And so I'd like to get your guys' opinion on them and what you guys think about them.
Sure.
So the first one is Castles of Burgundy. What are your thoughts on Castles of Burgundy?
Me first?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
In terms of, so I tried this as an introductory game, by the way. You can't do it. It's not easy enough to introduce somebody to gaming with it. But I thought it might be. Turns out I was wrong. But the game is, I think, one of his better designs. I think it's accessible. I think that it's relatively easy to understand, although there's a lot of iconography involved in the game. So if you have troubles with that, but at the same time, I think it has a decent amount of strategy. So I really enjoy Castles. It's got a permanent spot in my collection. It's not going anywhere. Easy to play and great game. So
what about
I
you,
agree. I like Castles of Ron Burgundy. It's one of my favorites of Stefan Feld.
Burger Vine Burger.
Yes, they need to do a reprint though for production quality. I do want to just mention that.
Yeah.
It's really terrible components,
I'll
but
give you that.
I like the spatial element when you're building, and they have the different player boards. You know, you can. It's every game can be fresh. You can't just, hey, I know this one player board, I'm just going to just do the same strategy every single time. You know, that kind of thing. So
it's a great game that when my wife isn't feeling up for something heavy, it's a good one to break out and just kind of just play it, and just play it not really caring so much about winning, but just play it to do stuff. Roll some dice, take some stuff, put it on your board. When it's 2-player, it's pretty loose, so you can just kind of play it nice and easy, and it works really great for that. All right, the second one at spot number 58 on the Geek. So Castles of Burgundy is number 9, and then all the way down to 58, Trajan. So what do we got? What do we think about Trajan? I think we have most of our opinions on that pretty solid.
We got it done.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, okay.
All right, Bora Bora, my favorite. Where do you put Bora Bora, Ryan? How do you feel about that?
It's my second favorite, probably.
Is it really? Oh, good to know.
So there's some classic Felds that are up. It depends on what I'm feeling, but I think in terms of overall gameplay, Bora Bora is probably my second favorite. It has a lot going on. It's definitely heavier than Trajan. I agree. But it might be a little more cohesive. I just don't think that my forward planning in it is
no, because you roll the dice.
Yeah,
you can't. Yeah,
there's not as much forward planning, and that takes away a little bit for me. So that's why it's not as highly ranked for me.
Have you played that one, Clay?
This is part of one of 3 games that I have not played of Stefan Feld that I really, really want to try. Bora Bora. The artwork on that is beautiful. I love the setting in that. It looks peaceful, but I heard it's pretty. I don't know. I've heard it's cutthroat a little bit, and that intrigues me. But
it can be.
I mean, for a Feld, I guess.
Yeah. All right.
I want to try it.
And then Bruges, I thought was not good. I didn't like it. I thought the use of multi-use cards was just not done and implemented well, in my opinion. But I know that I'm wrong because it's 161 on the Geek, and the Geek don't lie. I mean, Pandemic Legacy, number 1, right?
Yeah, Pandemic Legacy is a good game. I'm not going to fight to get the number 1, no, but good game, yes.
Yeah.
Bruges, I flip-flop on. We have it still, so it's still in my collection, which means that I must like it somewhat. I think it's still in the collection more because my wife really likes it, and she's also very good at it. And so that might detract a little bit from it for me because I'm not good at it. It's because I don't see these card combinations that she seems to see working together. Or I don't get the cards that seem to work together. And so I think there might be a little bit of an access problem there. It's hard to balance these games where certain card combinations are clearly better than others. And if you draw into them, you have a clear advantage. And this game has that aspect to it. All
right.
Yeah.
Clay,
No,
Bruges?
I've not played this. No, and
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the next two, I don't think me or Clay have played, but Notre Dame and In the Year of the Dragon. You want to go ahead and talk about those real quick, Brian?
Classic. Both of them. Fantastic. In the Year of the Dragon.
Is it as brutal as people say?
Absolutely.
Okay.
From the very beginning of the game, they're like, you need this stuff. If you don't have this stuff, you're screwed. You're going to lose points. So get the stuff or lose the points. And that's it. And so you don't, it's not easy to get the resources that you need to do the things that are happening. There are disasters every year. And if you can't meet or prepare for the disasters, it's not going to go well for you. Brutal Feld game.
Macau is, we know that. America.
What rank is this? What rank is Macau?
Macau is 200 overall.
Hey,
that's pretty good.
In the world, it's number 200.
Yes.
It's pretty good. I got to give it some credit.
Amerigo, I don't think Amerigo is a bad game. I thought it was boring. Okay, Ryan, what do you think? What's
Agreed. I don't like it. I don't even remember. I know that you get some cubes. There's something about dropping them in a thing, and the cubes come out. And you do some stuff with it. I remembered. I don't like it. So that's what I remembered about it. It's pretty easy to tell if I like a Feld game or not, because if I like it, I still own it. And I don't. So
all right, we're just gonna do a couple more of these. Have you played Amerigo, Clay?
No, there's only one other thing on this list that I've played.
Aquasphere. I like Aquasphere. I think it's a really cool take on programming. I think the little octopus meeples, maybe that like pushes me a little bit. But I like Aquasphere. Think it's a cool game. Ryan, where does it rank for you?
Meh. I have it, but the reason I have this one is because my copy is signed by Stefan Feld. So it exists in my collection for that reason only. It will probably never be played again. So.
Yeah. And you can't really sell it now that the cover's all sticky.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
All right. The next one, Luna. Not played it.
Super weird. I recommend trying it. Let's put it that way. It's just it's got an interesting play style to it. I can't even really describe it, but I recommend trying it.
Okay. Spiekerstadt. We've talked about that one already. I've heard it's good. I'd like to try this one. This one and In the Year of the Dragon are the two I really want to try. So
Notre Dame, add Notre Dame to that list. It's worth playing.
Okay. All right. Castle Burgundy, the card game. We'll just skip that. Strasbourg. Anybody?
Strasbourg's good. I like Strasbourg. So I have considered adding that. There's something about you can get pretzels, and I remember it's been a long time, so I remember that pretzels is one of the goods that you can work in, and I enjoyed that, beer and pretzels. And so I want a copy of Strasbourg, but I don't have one.
All right. Oracle of Delphi, not interested in the least.
It's fine. That's what I can say about it.
Another one that absolutely holds no interest to me. I do not like the look of this one. I don't like how it sounds it's going to play, but La Isla.
No good.
It's like a light game too, I think.
Super light. I played it at Essen the year that it came out, and immediately went, I don't need to own this, and I'm glad I didn't just buy a copy. If you're a light gamer, I think you'd probably enjoy it. I think it's probably a good intro to Stefan Feld, but it's not a good game for us.
And then now we've got Rialto, which I know nothing about.
Yeah, it's about the Rialto Bridge in Venice. It was okay at best. So,
all right.
Yeah.
Roma and Arena Roma 2. All right, we got those. We know what those are all about. And so then we've got the really weird. So we're going to take a jump into the thousands now. In the Name of the Rose.
Devin, play it.
The Pillars of the Earth Builders Duel.
I hated the Pillars of the Earth, so I would never play the Pillars of the Earth Builders Duel.
Rum and Pirates.
What is that? Is that a big box?
I'm looking at this. Looks like it. And then It Happens.
Oh my God, I have this game. You are an anteater, and there's something about you roll some dice, and then you select dice, and the dice lets you take potential actions. You put them in like stacks. You're building ant hills. It's bad. It's really bad. Don't play it.
Yeah, it's not got the best ratings.
Oh my God, it's so bad.
we'll go around and we'll start with you, Clay, and then I'll go and I'm going to let Ryan wrap up because this is his man, but we're going to give our final opinions on Mr. Stefan Feld. Clay, final thoughts.
Stefan Feld is a great designer for making all these mechanics work together. It's like taking a bunch of gears and putting it together, and it works. The gears spin, and scores are close. It's an enjoyable experience. Some of his games are complete misses. Some of his games are some of the best games on Board Game Geek. I enjoy his games overall, the ones that I played. That's just where it is for me.
Stefan Feld, I believe, is a designer that deserves all of the adoration that he gets. But I also believe, and even his fans have to admit, that he is extremely hit and miss. And I wouldn't even see hit and miss so much as he is either going to land hit, miss, or a lot of times meh. And that is where his games are going to fall. I mean, there's designers like Vito Lacerda that hit. Okay? Now, they have not designed 50 games like Stefan Feld has. He's only designed like 5 or 6. But I think that because of that, that really drops Stefan Feld down on my list of favorite designers because I just don't know what I'm going to get from him. And even the ones that most people would consider huge hits need the right way. I have not to, and this is not me putting myself up. I'm just saying I've gotten to the point where the games I enjoy are super heavy economic system games. And that's not what Stefan Feld does. And that's fine. And so I think that Stefan Feld, who he designs for, is I am now falling kind of outside of that wheelhouse. And that's not a bad thing. That's just to say that my opinions on Stefan Feld games shouldn't be taken to heart too much because I am not his audience that he's trying to reach. I think he's a great designer. I think he's one of the best designers working today. But the other thing that I just really cannot help but think about is I'm starting to feel that a lot of these games that I'm playing that are not Stefan Feld but feel very Stefan Feldish is like other people are doing Stefan Feld better than Stefan Feld does Stefan Feld. La Granja, Russian Railroads, a lot of these games that are just Burano. Big point salad type games that I played all of these, I would put all of them over Bora Bora. I really would.
That's a good point, man.
Even then, I just think other people are doing it better than he is. And that's my opinion on Stefan Feld.
So this may be a shock, but I'm going to agree with you. So I'll honestly say, and you hit it right on the head. This audience, and so this may sound a little bit weird because we just did a half an hour about Stefan Feld, but the audience we're talking to is not the Stefan Feld audience. Or at least they're not all the Stefan Feld audience, right? If they trend towards your kind of predisposition in games, where you're at this point in your gaming career, I think they're going to maybe shy a little bit more away from Stefan Feld. And I think this is where I walk a little bit of a line in terms of being a heavy gamer, where I do enjoy heavy games, but I also have kind of a predisposition towards medium and medium heavy as well, right? So I like a nice hour to an hour and a half strategic Euro. I also like a 5-hour game of Colonists. It all depends on what you're looking for. But your other point of people are doing Feld better than Feld. I think Feld may have run his course, at least in terms of his big hits that are going to come out. I haven't seen anything in the last couple years that's really pushed me towards like, I need this and I want to play it. And so the big hits are, Notre Dame, In the Year of the Dragon. They're coming back for reprints, but these aren't new titles. Trajan's fantastic, Castles of Burgundy, but we're still 4 or 5 years ago on those titles. And so, there's other people that are doing it, and I think they're doing it just as well, if not better. That excites me. But I hope he proves me wrong. I really do. I hope that in this coming year he releases something I'm like, well, I sound like an idiot. He can do it. I know he can. I just haven't seen it recently. So while he's one of my favorite designers, I I think there may be a transition coming where other people are going to do it, and it's not going to be him.
I did not expect that. I expected to let you close out and just heap all the praises and move on with that just kind of being the last thing said, but that did not go how I thought it was. But yeah, I see it. Yeah. But that is a good conversation on Stefan Feld, and I thought that was a pretty sweet wrap up. And so I really enjoy doing that. I think we're probably going to do a couple more spotlights. That was good. Just talk about stuff, get it all out, get our opinions out there. And so if you enjoyed the spotlight segment, let us know and we'll do some more. We got a lot of stuff that we can talk about here, and we can draw old stuff, new stuff, whatever we want to talk about. Just choose a discussion topic. But now we're going to move on, and we're just going to have kind of a random discussion about this. But none of us here are game designers. We are not game designers at all. But a lot of people might not be a game designer, but maybe they've had an idea, or maybe they're trying something or working on something, or maybe even not as a game designer, but as a game lover. You just have an idea of what you would absolutely love to see a game do that you haven't. And so what we're going to do for you is we're going to start out, and we're each going to just take a couple of minutes, and we're going to tell you, and we're basically going to fake design our dream games for you. So this is going to be our dream games, the theme, the mechanics, everything about it. You want to give as much detail as you don't want to give, but just kind of give us, what is your dream mechanic dream game going to look like? And what would somebody, if they designed a game specifically for you, what would it feel like? All right, Clay, I'm going to go to you first, man. So you are the one.
Yeah, so just imagine waking up one day, putting on your nice golf attire, and yes, I'm going there. And so I think I love tycoon games. Ryan, you asked about video games before. I Roller Coaster Tycoon, Railroad Tycoon, Theme Hospital, all those tycoon games. I ate it up, man. It's similar to Arkwright. You start with this small pile of cash. Let's see how much money you can make by the end of this game. That's what I want in a board game, and themed around golf, where you are a course designer. You're gonna be able to create pretty much any type of golf course you want. How appealing it is for people to come out and play your course. If you can even acquire a sponsorship with the PGA Tour and have tournaments held there, stuff like that I think would be incredible, especially if each course is completely different. You've got this tableau in front of you with just a different layout of a golf course. It's asking a lot, but I think my mind would be melted if that ever happened. It would just be the greatest thing to see. So that's wishing and dreaming, baby.
Nice.
That's interesting. I like that. That sounds like a really cool game. So Ryan, I'm going to hit it off to you. What do you think?
Yeah.
What is going to be your dream game?
I'm going to bring back something that we talked about, I think, a little bit on our Facebook chat at one point, because I have dabbled a little bit in some thoughts on game design. And so my dream game, at least the one that I've worked on a little bit, and maybe someday it'll come to fruition. Right now, we'll just have to find somebody to help me with the design. Is what I've kind of dubbed as a 6X game. So people are familiar with 4X, right? Everybody's kind of familiar with the 4X concept. I don't remember what the 4X is off the top of my head. Exterminate, explore. I think exploit and expand, perhaps. That might be the 4. But anyhow, this takes it a little bit further. So this is a hex-based Euro-style game that uses a card dividing mechanism, something similar to what's utilized for the cubes or the cards in what's the game? Sorry, Card City or in Town Center. Right, from Viard, which actually I think he probably was influenced by San Marco. It's an older game that utilized a similar mechanism. So players would be utilizing this somewhat card drafting / pile making mechanism. And then once they've decided that they've done enough of these, they're going to allow drafting of these piles to happen. And those piles drive actions that take place on a hex-based board. Something kind of akin to maybe Terra Mystica, right, in that aspect of board play. So you'd be expanding your own empire. You'd be either exploiting other people or exterminating other people, researching technologies and upgrading that. Or you could be gathering resources simply to suck up to the royalty or whoever it might be. Theme is not something that I utilize first. So it's just a whole kind of mishmash of things that focuses around, again, a core mechanism of dividing cards similar to Card City that I'd really love to put together, but it's a huge undertaking that I don't have time for.
Yeah. So I'm actually going to talk a little bit about a game I am currently working on designing. And so this is a game that I'm actually right now working on, and a couple of my friends are working on it with me, offering advice and stuff. This game I am currently calling Cartels. And this is a kind of a sick love I have of just the history of the Mexican and Colombian drug cartels and just kind of what happened with them and the cocaine trafficking. Like, I love movies about that kind of thing. Narcos. I love reading books about that. Yeah, Narcos was a phenomenal TV show. But I really enjoy that kind of like it's a little depraved to like enjoy reading about that kind of stuff. But hey, I love World War I. But I really find that stuff fascinating. And so I am actually currently working on a game that I'm calling Cartels. And what this game is it a 3-player only game for right now, where each player will take on an asymmetric role of either the Cali Cartel, the Gulf Cartel, or the Medellin Cartel, led by Pablo Escobar. And each one of you will take a cartel, and you will run that. You will become the drug lord empire and run that. But the way it's going to play out is there is going to be a card row very similar to how Phil Eklund does Pax Porfiriana, where players are going to do a bid on cards. There'll be an auction for these cards that come out. And so you'll go round and round bidding until everyone passes with influence or buying cards straight out for money. There's a huge suspicion aspect that can get you incarcerated in the game, but you're going to get all these cards just like you would in Pax Porfiriana, and cards that do different stuff. You're going to get your lieutenants, your workers, your drug labs, your enterprises, your shipping companies, your underground tunnels, your different stuff, your government officials that you're bribing, your one-time actions to do different kinds of stuff on the board, to do all of this stuff. And you're going to get them, and you're going to form a hierarchy of your people and play out your enterprises to the board into different levels in different places. And what this game is going to play like is it's like if you were playing Pax Porfiriana and you actually had to run your enterprises. You actually had to manage them and get workers for them and produce stuff and meet supply and demand to make money, because there's a logistical aspect to making sure that you have routes to the different drug suppliers to get to your plantations, to make the drugs, to sell them to the different places that have demand for them. There's a lot. It's going to be very volatile, just like how like a PAX game is, a very volatile system where things are constantly changing. And hey, I'm not winning right now, so screw it. I'm going to tank the game, put it into military control, wipe everything, have everybody get their drug labs raided. It might hurt me, but it hurts you the same. And now we're back on a level playing field. And so it's going to play very vicious, cutthroat kind of like that was what I'm hoping for. Mm-hmm. But I'm really interested on where this is going to go. I've shared this, my game files with a couple of different people, and they seem to think that there's something there. I'm really interested in seeing where it's going to go. I think this is something that has not been explored in games yet. It's going to try to make it an economic style game. But the key concept is you cannot keep your money, because the more money you have, the more trouble you're going to get in. You're going to get caught if you just have millions of dollars. So you have to launder the money. You have to get enterprises that launder the money for you, and then you have to invest it into different assets and different ways to keep your mafia running. And the bigger your corporation gets, the harder it is to manage. You get more susceptible to loyalty checks, to all this different stuff. And I'm trying to incorporate all of these in the game. And right now I'm trying to make a prototype. I am seriously sitting down to make a prototype in the next week to get ready. I'm hoping to have it ready by Origins, but I really want to see a game with this kind of a theme and a system that incorporates that theme really well. And I think Phil Eklund, just borrowing from Phil Eklund's kind of Pax Porfiriana, volatile shifting regimes kind of thing, would really help this game work well. And so it's a game I'm working on. I don't know what's going to come of it, but it's a game that I would like to see created. But that's kind of what I'm working on. I think it might be cool.
Yeah,
Nice.
man. That's
So-
It's all about running taxi companies and car washes, my friend. So.
For millions. Yeah.
$dollars.
But yeah, that was fun just to get that out. I know we all have a dream game idea of what we would love to hear about, but I'm going to go ahead and move us right along into the Q&A. And so people, you can give us questions all you want. Email us at thedeependgames@gmail.com. Subject line, question for the show, question. I'll get it. I'll figure it out. I'm not stupid. Okay, so just send us your questions and we'll get those in and we'll read them on the air and we will figure it out. So the first question. Hi, Deep End Podcast. My name is Cynthia. I really enjoy heavier games, but oftentimes a lot of people that I play with play much heavier games than I do. Are there any games that are so heavy that they even intimidate you or turn you off from even trying them? Thanks so much, Sin. Clay, is there any games that you know of that are so heavy that they almost intimidate you to a point?
Heavy is in the complexity of the game, and yeah, I would say I think not really. I mean, I think Arkwright and Through the Ages to me are like you can't really get more complex than that I have experienced. I mean, I know 18xx. Actually, sorry, I take this back. Hold on 1 second. War games, I hear, are completely different. They throw out the entire Euro game spectrum and just make them look like child's games.
Depends on the war game, but yeah.
Yeah, I think Here I Stand, isn't that like a pretty complex one? I don't know. Probably one of those. Here I Stand, I think, is like 8 hours. I wouldn't. Nah.
I know Campaign in North Africa is the longest game that's ever. I mean, it's a week-long game if you play it straight through.
I don't have a thing to. I just don't have a desire to play something that long, even if it's the golf course game that I just described. I would never want to play something that long.
You could actually build a real golf course in that time.
6 hours is my limit, so that would be honestly.
Well, you're pushing it on colonists. You're pushing it.
I would split that up.
That's fine, and you can easily. I agree with Clay. It's chit and counter war games in particular. So just anything where, and I guess anything is the wrong statement because Dominant Species does this. So I'm going to preface this with everything except for Dominant Species that does this. If the game needs bullet-pointed subsection references to rules, visualize rule part 3.6.2.1. I'm likely out. Now,
me too, man.
Yeah. I do enough referencing of things in real life that I don't need anything where I actually have to physically reference a rule book while I'm playing. If I've already played the game multiple times and I still have to reference back to the rule book to see what the certain rule is for this one scenario that may or may not happen in a game, each time I play it, it's not for me. And so like Advanced Squad Leader, right? I don't know if anybody's familiar with ASL. But Advanced Squad Leader, no thank you, not gonna happen. And pretty much anything along those lines, I'm out.
So I don't know if anything intimidates me per se, but I like 18xx a lot, and I've played some of the more complicated ones. But I am hoping to get into play of 1817 at Ohio HeavyCon. And that is a monster of a game. Now, it's not the super longest. It's like 6 to 8 hours, but it is the most financially. I mean, the finances in that game will just break you because there is short selling of stocks. There is loans that you can take out that have compounded interest. It just changes the entire formula for 18xx and just is a money game. It is money. And so it really is. I mean, I'm excited to play it, but I'm a little intimidated by it. I'm not going to lie. Now, I'm not going to lie. So Sekigahara for war games, like you guys were talking about, didn't care for it. It kind of turned me off to war games a little bit. but I really would like to give a shot to one of these big monster kind of war games, not Campaign in North Africa. That's stupid. But something more akin to like a Triumph and Tragedy, or even like Napoleon's Triumph, something that's actually a good, meaty war game, because I'd like to try that, not like a light block war game, but just really kind of dig into something like that and be like, okay, is this for me? After all everything said and done, is this something I'll enjoy? And I'd like to get that known for myself. And so I hope to try one sometime in the future, but I'm not that turned off by them. All right. So next question from Philip. Hey, Deep End Games. I love heavy games just like you guys do, but sometimes find myself wanting to play games that my other heavy gamer friends don't ever care for. They call them my guilty pleasure games because they are games that they say they would not be caught dead playing. Do you guys have any guilty pleasure games? Now, I'm going to kind of take this out of context a little bit. Do you have any games that you love that are outside of the heavy game wheelhouse? Which I know, like, Ryan, you're an omni gamer of all omni gamers, so this is kind of a weird question for you. But
no, it's not, because I'm definitely not an omni gamer. I'll explain that in a minute. So,
all right, as a heavy gamer, do you love anything that just falls completely out of your wheelhouse? Clay, what about you?
Oh, I did. Okay, so before you said that, I was going to be a smart ass and say Macau is my guilty pleasure game because it's so good.
Because it's bad. Because it's bad, but you like it anyway.
No, you're right. You should feel embarrassed for liking it.
Oh man. But yeah, for a game that's completely out of my wheelhouse, I think Descent Second Edition isn't that bad. I've played it.
It's pretty bad.
It's all right. I mean, Gloomhaven is I want to try. It's more Euro-y from Isaac Childress, but
when you play it, you're like, oh, this is in my wheelhouse, but it's a dungeon crawl.
Yeah.
So,
and I like Time Stories a lot. That is a cool, unique game. I freaking love that stuff. Yeah. Time Stories is awesome.
Ryan, what about you?
Yeah, so let me say I am probably closer to an omni gamer than either of you because I like light card games, at least somewhat light card games. I like card games. I like dexterity games. I like medium Euros. I like heavy Euros. You know what I don't like? I don't like games with themes, God damn it. I don't like it. I don't like dungeon crawls. I don't like dice chuckers. I don't like any of that. But you know what I love that is completely inside of that? Blood Bowl. That game is a dice fest. It's nothing but a dice fest.
That's a good answer. Good answer.
Hell yeah. That game, and nobody who knows me, who knows my game preferences, would be like, Ryan Metzler is going to play some Blood Bowl. But let me tell you, there's more to it than you'd think, but Blood Bowl is all about risk management. It's all about not doing the wrong thing first. And I guess it could be kind of Euro-y in that aspect, but it's a dice fest, and I still love it. So,
okay. For me, a couple of things fall completely out of my wheelhouse. Love Time Stories. Phenomenal game. Seriously, love Time Stories. Think it's one of the greatest things that's ever happened.
It defined a genre.
Yeah. That being said, I also like extremely, and this is almost a cheat because like Cyclades and Comet, they're so Euro-y.
That's a Euro game.
Yeah, they don't even count. But like, I like that dudes on a map, very like in-your-face combat game that those games offer me. And so that's something that's a little like my heavy gamer friends are like, I don't want to play that, but I really enjoy them. But I also have another style of game. And why did it just slip out of my head for some stupid reason? Oh, that's what it was. I'm sorry. Two Rooms and a Boom. I will play all night long. Love Two Rooms and a Boom. I think it is the coolest concept for a game ever. My wife freaking loves that game. She gets in there and she is just like bossing people around. Like, don't you share cards with them? Don't talk to us. You're on the red team. It's so funny. Oh my goodness. I love that game so much. When I break it out with people that don't even play games, like we'll go to party nights with people that are not gamers that'll have like 15, 20 people. So I'm like, all right, everyone get together. we're going to do this right now, okay? And I teach them Two Rooms and a Boom, and then I start adding in different stuff. It takes like 4 minutes to play through a round, and so then I'll add in new characters and new roles and stuff like that and give them all out. Two Rooms and a Boom, one of my favorite off-the-wall, completely out of my element games, but I find it so fascinating and so much fun. Okay?
See, and I'm going to hard pass on that. Hard pass. I'm out.
There's guilty pleasure. Last
I want to try it. Yeah.
Yep. Last question that we have here, which is a little weird because I think The Deep End is another podcast that gives like teenagers self-help advice.
Nice.
And so I think we're getting some of their emails, but in the off chance that we're not, and these are people that are actually watching our show, we'll go ahead and give these an answer. Hey, Deep End, love the podcast. My name is Tyler. So here's the deal. I'm dating a girl, and I like her friend more. How much time should I wait before I break up with her and date her friend? What do you think? Keep up the good work. Check you later, Tyler.
I love this question because I've been there. I don't know. And like, I ended up there knowing that I liked the friend more and still ended up dating the girl that was the friend of the other girl that I liked more. And the answer is there is never an appropriate time. That's the answer. You screwed it up. You screwed it up and you're done.
Here's the answer. How much time should you wait before dating your girlfriend's best friend?
Forever.
Some time. Because you did not do it while you're still dating your girlfriend.
That's a good point.
At least break up.
Yeah. But the real answer is there's never a right time. That's never going to happen.
Clay, I mean, you've probably had more relationships than most men in the board gaming hobby combined. So why don't you give us what your thoughts are on what should Tyler do, man? You've been there.
What he should do is he should just cut it off and say, I'm not liking it. This isn't for me. It's not you. It's me. Give it some time and then start, kind of, hey, you want to go out for some coffee?
This is bad advice.
No, this is excellent advice. Trust me, it works. And then I don't know. It's a terrible situation to be in, man. It really is.
Let me give you an answer.
Ryan's got the right answer.
The best that's ever going to happen here is you break up with your current girlfriend. You get with the other girl for a short period of time. It blows up spectacularly. The end. That is how that scenario goes. I promise you.
Well, Tyler, let us know how it turns out. Email us at thedeependgames@gmail.com. Find us on Twitter at the Deep End Pod, also on Facebook. Check out our brand new BGG Guild number 2857. We'll be posting on there more often than we have this week, but go join our guild. We have a BGG Guild. Yay for us.
And a micro badge.
Hey.
And a micro badge.
That's good.
I'm not paying for it.
Tweet Ryan, and he'll give. I mean, he's got billions of geek gold from all the reviews that he's done. He's basically board gaming royalty. So call him up, and he will hook you up with the micro badge. Throw you some juicy geek gold. Check it out. Rock that micro badge. All right. Also, check out after the episode if you have an upcoming Kickstarter that you want us to talk about, any kind of a convention, let us know because we'll be talking about that on the audio version of this podcast on what we're calling the Community Corkboard, where we talk about local cons, Kickstarter projects, any new podcasts that you might be doing or you're starting a blog, let us know. We'll talk about it for you. Any news that might be of interest, let us know. But Ryan, why don't you let everybody know where they can find you on the social medias to get a hold of you if they want that juicy geek gold?
Absolutely. Get me at Slacker, SLAQR on Twitter. You can find me on Facebook. Just Google my name. You can check out all my old reviews on thedicetower.com. I think that's the webpage. And or find us at the Guild on Board Game Geek, because I'm pretty sure I'm the moderator of that, even though I haven't done anything yet. So, but we'll get it up there here. They rejected some stuff based on the way I submitted it, but it'll be there. So.
All right. And Clay, why don't you tell everybody where they can go online and find your slutty cosplay photos?
Go to capstone-games.com. And I do want to hit on this because by the time this episode drops but when we're doing the next one, I'll mention it as well. But pre-orders will have started for Three Kingdoms Redux and the Hashbowl Connect expansion, the Ruhr Valley. capstone-games.com. You can get it there. You'll get it before anybody else in May. But just wanted to leave that out there with you guys. Appreciate your support.
All right. Check us out. You can find me on Twitter at Cardboard Truth. Find me on Facebook. I'm always bumming around the board game group talking about heavy games. And so look for me there. Find us on Twitter. We will see you next month to talk about some more heavy games. Bye, everybody.
Bye now.
Bye, guys.